Welcome to season 3 of You Are Significant, the podcast where real stories are told by real people that create more awareness of your own significance. You were created on purpose for a purpose with seeds of greatness inside of you. Ready to grow? Let's get down to it. What are you afraid of? This was something that I started to think a little bit about today as I sat in church, and we were looking at Romans 13, 1, 2, and 4, and that talks about the idea of letting everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Consequently, whoever rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted, and those who do so will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers hold no terror for those who do right, but for those who do wrong. Do you want to be free from fear of the one in authority? Then do what is right, and you will be commended. For the one in authority is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for rulers do not bear the sword for no reason. They are God's servants, agents of wrath, to bring punishment on the wrongdoer. Therefore, it is necessary to submit to the authorities, not only because of possible punishment, but also as a matter of conscience. So, this has been the 4th of July weekend. And we were talking about how precious our freedom is and what a great price has been paid for our freedom, and how there was a basically rebellion against paying taxes to Britain anymore. And 70 men came and signed, and then later more came and signed. And basically, it was going to be this declaration of independence. And when we look at that, it took a lot of courage. And even with this verse here, it seems that they were blessed by God. And the things that happened, especially when you start really getting into the weeds of all the things that took place, it was a God thing that it worked, and that our country was established, and that we gained our freedom to become America. And so when we think about that this weekend with the 4th of July, it makes us think even on a little bit smaller scale, our own world, you, and who are you afraid of? And that made me think about Revelation 21:8. And Revelation 21:8 says, but the cowardly, the unbelieving, the vile, the murderers, the sexually immoral, those who practice magic arts, the idolaters, and all liars, they will be consigned to the fiery lake of burning sulfur. That this is the second death. And so, cowardly, if we just dial it in, notice cowards. Being a coward is not okay. And so we are not supposed to be afraid of anyone except for God. And we're not supposed to fear men. We're only supposed to fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man, right? And so when we think about our freedom and being free from fear and only fearing God and knowing that He is with us and He is blessing us when we serve Him and we walk in His ways, a lot of people think about the Ten Commandments as a guideline for the basics of how to walk in His ways. And so I was just thinking about where somebody lost their grandmother in our friend circle And I was talking to them about what happened, and they were going into details about, what had happened and her end of life, and that she's in a better place and she's not suffering, and that she had really suffered for quite some time. And I was telling them uh, she had had some cancer, and they were saying that they had told her it wouldn't come back. And I said, with my husband, he fought cancer last year, and he got his all clear this spring in April. And here it is, July. So we've just had really a few weeks to let that set in. And at the same time, his endocrinologist has said this could come back. It could come back as a different form of cancer. And it just seemed pretty negative that he would even bring that up. And yet, this family was saying they had been promised it wouldn't come back. And it just made me think about how maybe this doctor was trying to err on the side of, well, this it could come back, and rather it not, and us be pleasantly surprised. But I was also saying our words are so powerful. Words create things, words connect with the future. And so I am mentally, emotionally, verbally cutting off any agreements with any future cancer. We are cancer free. I really believe in my heart that my husband could pass of something totally else and not that. So many people have thyroid cancer and it never comes back. And so I believe that that is totally possible for my husband too. And so during this time when we're thinking about freedom and how freedom wasn't free, and a great price has been paid for our freedom, and we're thinking about how we are not to fear anyone but God, and fear him and keep his commandments, and that God hates cowards. He condemns cowardice in Revelation 21:8, and that we are to be victorious. He wants us to see ourselves as victors. Because if we imagine failing and we imagine the worst happening, that's going to feed us to be a coward. If we think we're going to lose, if we think we're not going to win, we're going to be a coward and never even try. We're going to run or scream hiding. And we just watched this movie this weekend, an old movie called Sixth Sense. Have you ever seen that movie? I had never seen the whole thing. As I watched it, I was like, I've never seen this. And then as it kept playing, and it's an older movie, so it's longer, it's like over 2 hours. I thought, okay, I think I've seen maybe bits and pieces at some point. You know how you could just walk in on a movie or turn the TV on and a movie would be on TV, because this was an old movie. And so probably at some point I've seen bits and pieces of it, but not the whole thing. And so we were talking about how afraid people are of ghosts. And yet, in that movie, the way that it happens, and I'm not going to spoil it for you in case you want to watch it, um, it's very amazing to see how part of the lesson of the whole movie, I think, was to take what seems like a curse or seems like a challenge in your life, and it's actually been handed to you as your gift. And I wonder what might be in your life that is actually a gift, that if you saw it in the right light, might have been intended even by Satan on your life for harm has been used by God for good, for your good and for your family's good and for your community's good. I think that's what faith over fear does. It takes something that seems bad and it turns it into something that is a blessing and it turns it into something good. It reminds me of the story of Joseph in the Bible when he goes to his brothers and they see him coming and they're so jealous of him. They sell him to the Ishmaelites and he ends up sold again to Egypt and he ends up becoming the ruler over Potiphar's house. Then Potiphar's wife lies about him, Joseph, and he ends up in prison. And he finds favor with the prison guards and the head of the prison. We don't really know how long he's in prison, but he's favored there. And he interprets the dream of the butler and the baker. And he's right because God's interpreting it through him. And Joseph is remembered and he gets lifted up because the butler remembers him when he gets restored to his position to Pharaoh's house. And he comes and interprets Pharaoh's dream, and Pharaoh makes him ruler over his house. And then Joseph ends up saving all of Israel in the years of famine. There's going to be 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. And so in the end of Genesis, around Genesis 50, his brothers who had sold him, they come to buy food because everybody's having to come to Egypt to buy food. It's the only place there's any food left during this horrible, terrible, long famine. And so eventually, Joseph reveals himself to his brothers and they are terrified that he's going to kill them. And he says, "You meant it for harm, but God meant it for good." And the him being sold and all that he went through and being kept, kept away from his father thinking he's dead. His father, when asked about his son Joseph, would say he's no more. And he thought he was dead, but he wasn't. He had become ruler of all Egypt, only second to Pharaoh himself. And Joseph kept in his heart that even though his brothers intended it for evil, God intended it for good. He was supposed to be right where he was so that he could save the world, the known world at that time. And so I just think about your life and wonder what's happening. I know there's challenges. You are not an animal. You are made in God's image. You are special. And so remember that you have the choice to see the good in what you're going through. Oh my goodness. I know that some of you are going through really hard things, and this is difficult. It's hard to see the blessings in it. But if you will stop and remember Joseph in that verse in Genesis 50, it will strengthen you to say, you know what? I'm not supposed to be in fear. God hates cowardice. I know that all things work together for good to those who are called and love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. So I hope this has encouraged you. Happy 4th of July weekend. Happy July as we move into a new month of summer. I wanted to share this short episode with you so that it will encourage you and bless you, my friends. See you next time. Thank you for tuning in to You Are Significant. I hope that this episode helped you to embrace your own God-given purpose. Please share this out with a friend and remember to subscribe. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, walk in faith, find the joy, and stand in your own significance.